Let's talk about NASA. But before I start, I have to acknowledge that what I'm about to say is coming from a place of frustration. And I'm frustrated because I want to believe in the sincerity of NASA's words, in the integrity of their actions. But my goodwill and optimism is waning. With that out of the way, let's get into my equal and opposite reactions to NASA's recent actions. And to be crystal clear, this is not an attempt to harass NASA employees. But I am going to ask hard questions that I hope that NASA responds to, which would go a long way to help build trust in their efforts to investigate UAPs openly. Openness, transparency, integrity. These terms have been used repeatedly by NASA throughout the early stages of their UAP investigation. But it causes me concern when their words don't match up with their actions. Take the following exhibits for example. Exhibit number 1. During the September 14th media briefing, NASA repeated their intentions to be open and transparent with the American public.
NASA, which I speak for, is open and transparent with our data.
But just 1 week later, on September 21st, they briefed the full House Oversight and Accountability Committee on the UAP report in a closed session. Closed being the opposite of open. And just 2 months before that briefing, the chair of NASA's independent UAP study group, David Spergel, declined to testify before Congress and the American people in a public hearing, where he could have built trust in NASA's attempt to investigate UAPs by not only participating in the congressional hearings, but also testifying under oath at them. But after I discussed this issue with Douglas Dean Johnson, someone whose opinion I highly respect, I gotta admit that I might be making unwarranted assumptions about this situation. But even John Greenwald thinks that we the people should be able to see the unclassified briefing that was presented on September 21st. Speaking of unclassified, exhibit number 2. NASA has proudly touted their goal of being open and transparent with us.
NASA is about openness and transparency.
And therefore they intend to only use unclassified information in their investigation so that they can share their findings with us. But the concern that I have is that they haven't said a word about how they decide what data that they collect is or isn't deemed classified. And yes, NASA does collect data that's classified. And a quick Google search results in several NASA documents that address this very issue, including NASA Procedural Requirement 1600-2A. That establishes agency-wide requirements for protection of classified national security information. So my question is, who at NASA is deciding what UAP-related data that they collect is classified? And is there a representative from the Pentagon involved in this decision-making process? Does NASA treat UAP-related videos like the Navy does? Who, according to the Black Vault, consider all UAP-related videos classified and exempt from release due to national security concerns. Because if NASA views UAP-related data the same way that the Navy does, and therefore do not include them in their investigation, they could look us dead in the eye and honestly say,
The NASA independent study team did not find any evidence that UAP have an extraterrestrial origin.
And all the data they'd have left to investigate would be man-made objects as well as natural weather phenomenon. And yes, I freely admit that this is speculation on my part, but I'm just hoping to raise a question that I hope NASA publicly addresses in the near future. Exhibit number 3. NASA just got caught trying to hide an email from a FOIA request submitted by the Black Vault in an effort to avoid embarrassing an employee who made a joke that they did not want to be made public. So they asked for the email to be made exempt from the FOIA request. And yeah, I know it's only about a joke, but ask yourself this. If NASA is willing to attempt to skirt the FOIA process in order to hide a joke, just imagine what other current and historical information related to UAPs they could be asking for exemptions for in order to avoid organizational embarrassment. Exhibit number 4. Maybe I'm the only one that feels this way, but I don't think NASA Administrator Bill Nelson actually answered James Fox's question. Because when Fox asked if NASA has a plan in place to inform the public if they do find evidence of a non-human intelligence on Earth, which is a simple yes or no question, the administrator caveated his response by starting with an if statement, instead of simply saying, yes, there is a plan. So does his response give anyone confidence that NASA actually does have a plan to inform the public? Exhibit number 5. They stated that they are not going to duplicate the efforts of AARO.
Our goal was not to repeat the work of the AARO.
But the cases that they included in their UAP report are from the AARO inventory. Exhibit number 6. They boldly proclaim that they can model the best approach for studying UAPs. Yet they don't plan on revisiting UFO cases and data of the past in order to help them establish a path forward. Instead, the only history they're going to look at is climate-related information, which leads me to think they may be trying to correlate UAP sightings with climate events, while conveniently ignoring the rumored correlation between UFOs and nukes. Exhibit number 7. Within hours of repeatedly refusing to release the name of the newly appointed director of NASA's UAP research.
Can you name the official who's in
We
that
will
role?
not give his name out, no.
Yes, we are withholding that name.
Dr. Nikki Fox claimed that she shared his name on Twitter due to public interest. But all signs point to them realizing that they let the cat out of the bag during the press briefing themselves. Because when Brandy Vincent asked them,
The NASA AARO liaison, is that official the same as your new UAP head of research?
Yes.
Thank you.
and at that point, the UFO community knew who the director of the program was because during the May media teleconference, Brandy Vincent also asked,
Who is the new NASA science advisor that's embedding at AARO?
Yes, so we are shortly to send over a liaison officer to the Department of Defense, their All Domain Anomaly Resolution Office. This is Mr. Mark McInerney.
So it seems that they were only transparent with us in this case because they were accidentally transparent with us. Exhibit number 8. They claim to want to continue to reduce the stigma around reporting UAP-related events. Yet when asked about David Grush's claims of knowledge of a government UFO program, Nelson boiled it down to,
He had a friend that knew where a warehouse was that had an UFO locked up in a warehouse. He also said he had another friend that said that he had parts of an alien.
So how's that help reduce the stigma for future potential whistleblowers? In conclusion, sometimes I'm having a hard time matching up NASA's actions with their words, and it's affecting my ability to trust them. Because it's these kind of contradictions that are exactly what lead to the creation of conspiracy theories that surround NASA, which have muddied the waters of the past and contributed to the cloud of stigma surrounding the UAP topic. And NASA, if you're listening, I want to support you. I want you to succeed. I even desperately wanted to go to space camp when I was a kid. And I'm rooting for you, but I also respectfully believe that you can do better and that you can earn our trust. But the only way for you to do so is to be trustworthy. So NASA, make us proud.